Okay, today I am going to be using beef chuck top blade steak, boneless. And I swear they're coming up with cuts of meat I've never heard of before, but this was $2.49 a pound, so I decided to use it and do something with it. The first thing that I am going to do, and this step isn't completely necessary, but I have here some plain flour. I'm going to add a mixture of salt, pepper, and garlic powder to the flour. Mix that up nice. And then I'm going to pat each steak into the flour just to get a really light coating on it. It'll just help it sear better when we get it into the pan, because the first thing we're going to do is sear these, and then we're going to take them back out of the pan and start with our mushrooms and onions. After I get done coating these, I'm going to dump the flour off and use the same plate to put the steaks on while I'm cooking the veg. Over here I have my pan heating. I have it on medium-high. I'm going to add olive oil. Now, part of the reason I'm cooking the meat first is that all the brown bits that end up on the bottom of the pan, the mushroom juice will help take off of the bottom of the pan, so that's a good thing. And because I am who I am, I'm going to add just a dab of butter, because I like butter. I don't like margarine, so if you're using margarine instead, well, that's your choice. I prefer butter. I think the flavor's better. I think it's more natural than a hydrogenated margarine. So I can obviously hear the pan is pretty hot. So I'll start putting these steaks in. We Americans, I think, eat way too much meat. We've gotten away from how things used to be. They say a serving should be the size of a deck of cards. As you can see, that is a little bigger than a deck of cards. But I have two teenage boys and a big hungry husband, so these will be for them, and I will probably just take a little piece off of each one, and that'll be mine. I'm not a huge meat eater. Alright, I'll be back after these have browned. Okay, I flipped these over and they're coming along great. Because this is a lesser cut of meat, it needs to cook for a longer time on a low heat. I'll cook this most of the afternoon, and it should be very tender by the time dinner rolls around. I'm using a fairly deep pot, cast iron. I like cast iron. Oh, by the way, if you don't have a pair of tongs in your kitchen, get a pair. These things are great. I don't know how I ever cooked without them. Anyway, I need the pot deep enough so that when I make my gravy, there's room for it. But it's also a fairly small pot so that the liquid isn't spread out too far. It will come up rather than spread out, thereby covering all the meat, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. Let's see how these are going. Okay, these are good. We just wanted to seal these off, not to cook them, obviously. So we're going to take those out of the pan, transfer them to our plate, and throw the mushrooms in. Now, the mushrooms take a long time to give off their moisture, and at first they're going to suck up a lot of the oil, but then as they cook down, they'll start releasing the oil again. You don't want to put any salt on your mushrooms. You just want to let them cook along at their own pace, and when we add the onions, that's when we'll be adding the salt. I hope you can see how much moisture these are giving off. They're about halfway done, at least as far as the way I like them. I like mine a little bit brown. If you like yours a little less brown, that's fine. These mushrooms are also going to add some extra protein to the dish. They're high in protein. And I don't wash my mushrooms, again, because the extra moisture is a problem. Now, if you are fussy about that, by all means go ahead and wash your mushrooms, but I don't consider it necessary. I'll be back when it's time to throw in the onions. Okay, my mushrooms are starting to get brown now. I don't know if I mentioned I have them on medium-high, and they're starting to stick a little bit to the bottom. And this is the way I like them. So at this point, I'm going to throw in my onions. Right on top of the mushrooms. Give it a stir. And I'm going to leave it on medium-high for now. I'll be turning it down later, but I want to get the onions working. And I'm going to put on a mixture of salt, garlic, and pepper. I mix this myself and just keep it handy in the kitchen because it's something I use a lot. If you want to use plain salt at this point, that's fine. But the reason you add it now is to help start drawing that moisture out of the onions. I don't know why you don't want to do it with mushrooms, but I know you don't, and I know you do want to do it with onions, so go figure. I still have a little ways to go with the onions, but I'm not going to cook these down as much as we did in the French onion soup. At this point, I am going to add the garlic. And again, I'm using the pre-chopped, so that means I have to use a lot. You could certainly use fresh or dry. If you use dry, you maybe want a teaspoon, but it's really up to you and what you like. If you use fresh, you know, I'd use at least a couple cloves, but I like garlic, so I might use even more. This dish, when I go to the grocery store, I just look for what's on sale and think about, okay, well, what can I do with it? Just so happened that mushrooms are on sale and these beef steaks, whatever they are, were on sale. But this dish could be done with chicken. It could be done with pork chops. So, you know, it's pretty versatile.